They say you can't know who you really are until you're tested, until everything you believed about yourself is stripped away and all that's left is choice. 48 hours ago, I thought I knew who I was. I thought I understood what I'd become. I was wrong. My name is Sophia Chen, and the man I've been working with, the man I've been falling for though I won't admit it out loud, is about to lose the one person he's kept safe from this world. His sister, Isabella. And I'm going to help him get her back, whatever it takes. Chapter 1, War Room. The first 12 hours after Salvatore's call were a blur of planning, preparation, barely controlled fury. Dante's penthouse had transformed into a command center. Maps covered the dining table. Laptops displayed security footage, building schematics, personnel files. Marco coordinated teams via encrypted phones. Vincent worked his contacts for intelligence. And I did what I do best. I found the legal angles, the structural weaknesses, the ways to destroy Salvatore even if the rescue failed. Dante hadn't slept. I knew because I hadn't either. And every time I looked up from my work, he was there, staring at maps, making calls. Planning 3 moves ahead like this was chess and not his sister's life. At hour 14, Marco announced they'd narrowed it down to 3 locations. Red Hook Warehouse. Salvatore had used it before for high-value targets. Bay Ridge Social Club, his home territory heavily defended, and an abandoned factory in Sunset Park, off the grid, minimal surveillance, where Marco would go if he wanted to stay hidden. Dante said they'd hit all 3 simultaneously. It wasn't a question, it was a decision. Vincent frowned, said it spread them thin. They didn't have unlimited personnel. Dante's voice was cold, controlled. They didn't have unlimited time either. Salvatore gave them 48 hours. They were down to 36. 3 teams. Marco took Red Hook. Vincent took Bay Ridge. Dante would take Sunset Park. I asked where that left me. Everyone turned to look. Dante said I'd stay at the penthouse, safe, away from this. I said no. His jaw tightened, said my name like a warning. I told him he said I was his partner, that we do this together. I wasn't sitting here while he risked everything. I could help. He said this wasn't a courtroom. People were going to die tonight. I know, I said, and I'm still going. The room went silent. Marco and Vincent exchanged glances, waiting to see how this would play out. Dante studied my face for a long moment. Then he told Marco to give me a vest. Basic training. I'd stay with him in the back, away from the fighting. It wasn't agreement. It was compromise, but I'd take it. Chapter 2, Preparation. Marco took me to the building's lower level, a shooting range I hadn't known existed. He asked if I'd ever fired a gun. No, I said. Then I needed to pay attention. He set a pistol on the counter, a Glock 19, 15 rounds, showed me the safety, demonstrated proper grip, both hands, sight alignment, breathe out and squeeze, don't pull. He loaded it, handed it to me. The weight was heavier than I expected, more final. He told me I probably wouldn't need it, but if I did, don't hesitate, don't think, just react. I fired at the target. The recoil surprised me, threw off my aim. The shot went wide. He told me to try again. By the 20th shot, my hands had stopped shaking. By the 50th, I could hit the target center mass 3 times out of 5. Good enough, Marco said. Reminded me I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was trying to survive. Back upstairs, Elena pulled me aside. She pressed a phone into my hand. Small, encrypted, unfamiliar. I asked what it was. Emergency exit, she said quietly. If things went wrong tonight, if I needed to disappear, call the number programmed in. New identity, offshore accounts, everything I needed to start over. I asked why she was giving me this. Because she liked me, she said. Because I was smart enough to know when to run. She paused. Because not everyone who goes to war comes back the same. Sometimes they don't come back at all. I slipped the phone into my pocket, thanked her. She told me not to thank her, just survive. At midnight, Dante found me in his office. I was reviewing the legal documents I'd prepared. Federal warrants, sealed indictments, corporate dissolutions, everything needed to destroy Salvatore's empire if the rescue failed. Dante asked if I was making contingency plans. If we can't save her, we make sure he pays, I said. Every business, every asset, every ally, gone, he'll die in prison, forgotten. Dante was quiet for a moment. Then he said I'd changed. I asked if that was a bad thing. No, he said. It was just, when I first walked into Vesper, I was desperate but principled, trying to do the right thing even when there were no good options. Now I was planning someone's complete destruction without hesitation. He has your sister, I said. He killed my father. Hesitation gets people killed. I know, Dante said. He looked at me, really looked at me. He did this to me, changed me into something I wasn't supposed to become. I told him he didn't do anything. I chose this, every step, and I'd choose it again. Something passed between us. Understanding, maybe, or recognition that we'd both crossed lines we couldn't uncross. Dante said quietly that when this was over, when Isabella was safe, we needed to talk about what this was, what we were. My heart did something complicated in my chest. Okay, I said. He nodded, started to leave, then stopped, told me thank you for helping him, for being here. He knew he hadn't said it, but... I know, I interrupted. He didn't have to. But the gratitude in his eyes said everything anyway. I stood there alone after he left, thinking about what came next, about the violence I was about to witness, about the line I was preparing to cross. I was planning a military operation with the same efficiency I'd once used for corporate mergers. When had that become normal? The thought unsettled me, but not enough to stop. Chapter 3, 3 Strikes. 2 a.m. We moved in 3 separate convoys, professional, coordinated, silent. I rode with Dante and 4 of his men in an armored SUV. The streets were empty at this hour, the city sleeping and unaware of the violence about to unfold. Dante checked his weapon, methodical, practiced. He'd done this before many times. He told me to stay behind him without looking at me. Don't engage unless there's no other choice. If it goes wrong, run. Don't try to be brave. I started to ask what if. He cut me off. If he went down, Marco was second in command. Marco would get me out. He told me to promise him. I said his name, tried to argue. He repeated it, promise me, Sophia. I met his eyes, saw the fear he was trying to hide, not for himself, for me. I promised. The SUV stopped 3 blocks from the factory. We continued on foot. Through my earpiece, I heard Marco's team breach the Red Hook warehouse. Gunfire, shouting. Then Marco's voice saying the location was empty. A decoy. Red Hook was a decoy. Dante cursed under his breath. Vincent's voice came next. Bay Ridge status. Then a pause. She was here, he said. Recently. Blood on the floor, not much, signs of struggle, but she was gone. They'd moved her within the last few hours. Dante's expression went cold. He said someone told Salvatore we were coming. I whispered that we had a leak. We pressed forward toward the factory. The building was 5 stories, mostly concrete and rust, windows shattered, graffiti covering the walls, perfect place to hide something or someone you didn't want found. Dante's team spread out. 2 went around back, 2 positioned for overwatch. That left Dante, me, and 1 other man for the main entrance. The man reported 3 guards outside using night vision. Armed, professional stance. Dante said Isabella was here. Salvatore wouldn't post guards on an empty building. He signaled. His team moved like shadows. Fast, silent, lethal. The guards went down before they could raise an alarm. We entered the factory. Chapter 4, Inside. The interior was a maze of corridors and empty rooms. Water dripped somewhere. Metal groaned in the wind. We cleared the first floor. Nothing. Second floor, empty offices, abandoned equipment. Third floor. Voices, coming from the far end of the corridor. Dante signaled us to stop. We pressed against the wall, moving slowly. He peered around the corner, then pulled back. 4 men, he whispered. 1 room, doors open. I asked if he could see Isabella. No, he said, but they're guarding something. This was it, had to be. Dante made hand signals to his team. They stacked up, ready to breach. He looked at me one last time, a look that said everything he hadn't been able to say before. Then they moved. The firefight lasted maybe 30 seconds, felt like hours. Gunfire echoed through the empty building. Shouts, someone screaming, the sharp smell of cordite and blood. Then silence. Dante called clear. I came around the corner. 3 of Salvatore's men were down. The 4th had his hands up. Surrendering, Dante's team secured him. And in the back room, tied to a chair, Isabella. She was younger than I expected, mid-20s, dark hair, bruised face. When she saw Dante, she started crying. She kept apologizing, saying she was sorry, that she didn't tell them anything. Dante cut her restraints with a knife, impossibly gentle for someone who just killed 3 men, told her she was okay. She was safe now, asked if she could walk. She nodded, still crying. We started moving toward the exit. Too easy, I thought. This was too easy. And that's when Anthony Salvatore stepped out of the shadows. He wasn't alone. 6 men with him, all armed, blocking our exit. Salvatore greeted Dante pleasantly, said he'd been wondering when Dante would show up. Chapter 5, The Standoff. Dante's team reacted instantly, weapons up, defensive positions, but we were trapped, caught in the corridor with no cover and no good options. Salvatore smiled, laid out the situation. Dante gives himself up, Salvatore lets the women walk, or we all die here. Dante's choice. Dante's voice was steady, said Salvatore wouldn't kill him, he was worth more alive. Maybe, Salvatore agreed, but are they? He pointed his gun at Isabella. Isabella whimpered. I felt my hand drift toward the gun Marco had given me, hidden under my jacket, loaded, safety off. Salvatore noticed something in Dante's expression, said it was interesting. Dante came himself, brought his whole team, all this for one person, that was his weakness. He cared, made him predictable. Dante said Salvatore didn't care about anything, made him reckless. Perhaps, Salvatore said, but he was the one with 6 guns pointed at Dante. The tension in the corridor was suffocating. Dante calculating odds, looking for angles, his men waiting for orders, Isabella shaking between us. And me, watching Salvatore, watching his men, watching the overhead industrial lights suspended from old, rusted chains. I saw it, the opportunity. Don't think, just react. I pulled my gun and fired. Not at Salvatore, at the light fixture's chain. The chain snapped. The massive industrial light crashed down between us and Salvatore's men. Sparks, darkness, chaos. Dante shouted for us to go. He grabbed Isabella. His team opened fire, creating cover. We ran. Behind us, Salvatore was screaming orders, his men returning fire, the building erupting into violence. We hit the stairs, down, fast, stumbling. Isabella couldn't keep up. Dante lifted her, carrying her like she weighed nothing. Ground floor, almost there. Someone cut us off at the exit. One of Salvatore's men, gun raised. I didn't hesitate, fired twice, center mass, like Marco taught me. The man went down. I'd just killed someone. No time to process it. We burst through the exit into the night. Dante's SUV was waiting, engine running. We piled in. Dante commanded the driver to move. We were accelerating before the doors even closed. Behind us, Salvatore's men spilled out of the factory, but we were already gone. Chapter 6, Safe. We drove to Dante's penthouse, the most secure location we had. Isabella was in shock, shaking, crying, barely speaking. Dante held her the entire ride, murmuring reassurances in Italian that I didn't understand but could feel. At the penthouse, a doctor was waiting. Private, discreet, used to treating people who couldn't go to hospitals. He examined Isabella. Bruises, dehydration, trauma, but nothing life-threatening. She needed rest, the doctor told Dante quietly, and probably therapy, what she'd been through. Dante said he'd take care of it, thanked him. Marco arrived an hour later with the rest of the team. Minor injuries, no fatalities on our side. Salvatore had escaped the factory but left 2 of his men behind. 1 dead, 1 captured. The one they grabbed was talking, Marco reported. Salvatore's whole operation was collapsing. People were turning on him, trying to make deals. Dante asked about Salvatore himself. In the wind, Marco said, but he was finished. No money, no allies, no support structure. Marco allowed himself a small smile. We won. Dante nodded, but didn't look satisfied. Said it wasn't over until Salvatore was in custody. I spoke up, said I'd already made calls. Federal agents were executing warrants as we spoke. Every business, every account, everything. Salvatore would surface eventually, and when he did, they'd be waiting. Vincent arrived next. Grim-faced, said they'd found the leak, took some digging, but they got him. Dante asked who. One of Salvatore's people embedded in the city planning office, Vincent explained. Had access to property records, corporate filings, everything I'd been filing for the legal assault. That's how Salvatore knew we were moving on multiple locations. The revelations settled over us. We'd been compromised, but not deeply, just enough to make things difficult. Dante asked if it was handled. Police have him, Vincent confirmed. Charges included conspiracy, corruption, accessory to kidnapping. He was going away for a long time. Good, Dante said. Chapter 7, Aftermath. The next 72 hours passed in a strange blur. Isabella stayed in Dante's penthouse. Recovering, I helped where I could, sitting with her, getting her food, just being there. She was sweet, artistic, everything Dante had tried to keep separate from his world. One afternoon, she told me I'd saved her. We were sitting by the windows, looking out at the city. I said her brother saved her. I just helped. She said Dante told her what I did, shooting the light, making the decision no one else saw. That took courage. It took desperation, I said. Maybe, she replied, but I did it anyway. She looked at me with eyes that were remarkably like Dante's. Dark, perceptive, seeing more than I wanted to show, told me to be careful with him, her brother. He was loyal until it destroyed him. And right now, he was loyal to me. I asked what that meant. It meant he'd protect me even if it cost him everything, she said, even if it cost him himself. She touched my hand gently. Someone should protect him too. She thought that was me now. Anthony Salvatore was arrested 4 days after Isabella's rescue. Federal agents found him in a motel in New Jersey. No security, no backup, just a broken man with nowhere left to run. The charges were extensive: racketeering, kidnapping, murder, corruption, trafficking. My legal work had been flawless, every document, every filing, every piece of evidence, airtight. He'd die in prison, forgotten, powerless, destroyed. Exactly as Dante had promised. A week after Salvatore's arrest, Isabella left for Florence. Dante hired a private security team to watch her, made her promise to call every day, hugged her goodbye like he might never see her again. She whispered something to me as she left, told me to take care of him, that he wouldn't take care of himself. And then she was gone, and the penthouse felt too quiet. Chapter 8, What COMES Next? That evening, I was in my apartment, the secure one Dante had arranged, when he showed up at my door. He asked if he could come in. I stepped aside. He entered, hands in his pockets, looking around at the space I'd barely personalized. He asked how I was. Honestly, I said, I didn't know. I'd killed someone. I kept thinking I should feel something about it. Guilt, horror, something. But I just felt numb. It gets easier, Dante said. That's the terrible part. He sat on the couch, said the first time he killed someone he was 19. His father's enemies came for him. He didn't have a choice. For weeks after, he couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, thought he'd destroyed who he was. I asked if he had. He said he became someone else, someone who could do what needed to be done. He looked at his hands, same as I was doing now. I asked if that was a good thing. He said he didn't know, but it was the truth. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us. I told him about the factory before I shot the light. I wasn't thinking about strategy or planning. I was just thinking I couldn't let Salvatore hurt them, couldn't let him hurt Dante, and I acted. That's how you survive in this world, Dante said. Instinct. I asked if that's all this was, survival. He met my eyes, said I knew it wasn't. The admission hung in the air, dangerous, real. I asked what we were doing. He said he didn't know, just that when Salvatore pointed that gun at me when he thought Salvatore might. He stopped, struggling with something. He'd never been afraid like that, not for himself, but for me. He didn't finish, didn't need to. I moved closer, said I was terrified too, but I trusted him. He said I shouldn't, that he wasn't a good man. He'd done terrible things. He'd do more terrible things. Being close to him put me in danger. I know, I said. I'm choosing it anyway. He asked why. Because he was honest about what he was, I said. Because he kept his promises. Because when I was with him, I didn't have to pretend to be something I wasn't. I touched his face, feeling stubble under my palm, because I trusted him more than anyone. Dante's hand covered mine, said that was a mistake. Probably, I agreed, but I'm making it anyway. We were so close now, his eyes searching mine, looking for something. Permission, maybe, or certainty that this was real. And then his phone rang. The moment shattered. Dante pulled back, checked the screen, said it was Marco, emergency. He answered, and I watched his expression change. Confusion, then realization, then something like fear. He asked when, how much was accessed. Pause. He said we were coming now. He hung up, looked at me, said we needed to go, now. I asked what was wrong. Marco found something, he said, something about the leak that gave Salvatore our plans. His jaw tightened. It wasn't just one person in city planning. There was someone else, someone higher up. Chapter 9, The Revelation. Dante's office at headquarters was crowded. Marco, Vincent, Elena, 2 computer specialists I'd never met. Dante told them to show me. One of the specialists pulled up a screen. Financial records, communication logs, access histories. Marco explained that after they arrested Salvatore's contact in city planning, they dug deeper. Wanted to make sure they got everyone. Found anomalies in the federal system. Someone with high-level access was monitoring our legal filings. I asked what kind of federal. That's the problem, Marco said. The access came from DOJ servers, Department of Justice. He pulled up more files. Someone was tracking every document I filed, every warrant application, every piece of evidence against Salvatore. My blood went cold, said that wasn't possible. Those filings were sealed. Only specific people should have access. But someone did, Elena said, someone with credentials. She pushed a laptop toward me, told me to look at the pattern. Every time I filed something within hours, there was access from a specific IP address. DOJ internal network. The timestamps were always the same. 3:47 in the morning, automated, systematic. I scanned the logs. She was right, it was systematic, thorough. I asked who, which agent. They didn't know yet, Marco said. The login credentials were generic, could be several people. But whoever it was, they had authority, high-level clearance. Vincent's expression was grave. This wasn't just corruption. This was institutional. Dante was quiet, processing. Said Salvatore wasn't working alone. Someone in the federal government was protecting him. Or using him, I said, seeing the pattern. If they were monitoring our moves against Salvatore, they weren't trying to save him. They were watching how we operated, learning our methods. Marco asked why. Because we're next, I said. The realization hit me like cold water. Salvatore was a test. They were seeing how we'd respond, what resources we had, what our weaknesses were. Now that he's gone, they know. The room went silent. Vincent asked quietly who they were. I don't know, I said, but whoever they are, they're bigger than Salvatore, more connected, more dangerous. I looked at Dante, and they've been watching us the entire time. Chapter 10, No Way Back. We spent the next several hours going through everything. Every filing, every contact, every interaction with federal authorities. The picture that emerged was disturbing. Someone or multiple people in the Department of Justice had been monitoring our operation against Salvatore for months. They had access to sealed warrants, confidential filings, strategic plans. They'd watched us dismantle his empire piece by piece. And they'd done nothing to stop us. That's what worries me most, Vincent said. They could have shut us down, protected Salvatore, blocked the warrants, warned him, but they didn't. Because they wanted him gone, Dante said. We did their work for them. Elena asked why. Why let us destroy Salvatore? Because he was competition, I said slowly. The pieces falling into place, or a liability, or both. Someone wanted him removed but couldn't do it openly, so they let us do it. And now that he's gone, Marco asked. His voice was grim. Now they move into his territory, I said. Take over his operations. Legitimize what he built. I looked at Dante. This isn't about stopping crime. This is about controlling it. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he told them to get everything they could on high-level DOJ personnel. Anyone with access to sealed filings. Anyone with connections to organized crime investigations. He wanted names, backgrounds, everything. Marco said that would take time. Then start now, Dante said. Because whoever was behind this, they weren't done with us. Later, after everyone had left, Dante and I stood alone in his office. The city spread out below us. Millions of lights, millions of secrets, millions of people unaware of the shadow war being waged in boardrooms and back alleys. I said quietly that this was bigger than Salvatore. This was organized, connected, institutional. I know, Dante said. I asked if he was asking me to stay, to see this through. He turned to face me, said he was asking if I wanted to. No debt, no obligation, just choice. Because this, whatever came next, was going to be dangerous, more dangerous than anything we'd faced. I thought about Elena's escape phone, still in my drawer, about the life I could have if I walked away right now. New identity, clean start, safety. But I'd made my choice weeks ago. In that warehouse with Salvatore, in the factory when I shot the light. Every day I came to this office and helped plan the next move. I'd chosen this, chosen him, chosen who I was becoming. I told him I wanted to stay, see this through, whatever came next. Something shifted in Dante's expression. Relief, maybe, or something deeper. Then we face it together, he said. Outside, the city glittered. Indifferent, beautiful, dangerous. Somewhere in those lights, someone was watching, planning, waiting. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I'd learned the most important lesson this world had to teach. Power isn't about control. It's about choosing who you protect and what you're willing to sacrifice. And I'd made my choice. Epilogue, The Watcher. Unknown location, expensive office, government credentials on the desk, official seal visible. A figure sat in darkness, reviewing files on a laptop. Photos scrolled past. Dante Rosso, Sophia Chen, Marco, Vincent, Elena, the whole operation documented in meticulous detail. A phone rang. The figure answered. Someone reported that Salvatore was in custody. As expected, the figure replied. The voice asked about Rosso. Stronger than before, the figure said. The lawyer made him more effective, more dangerous. Should they move on him? Not yet, the figure said. Let them think they've won. Let them feel safe. A pause, they're useful. They eliminate problems we can't touch officially when they're no longer useful. The implication hung in the air. The voice asked about the woman, Chen. Interesting variable, the figure said. She transformed faster than anticipated. Could be an asset or a liability. The figure closed the laptop. Keep monitoring. When the time comes, we'll know exactly how to handle them. The call ended. The figure stood, walked to the window. Below, the city sprawled. A map of power and influence, territories and alliances. And somewhere in that city, Dante Russo and Sophia Chen thought they'd won. They were wrong. Narration ends. I used to believe that choosing darkness meant losing yourself. Now I know the truth. You don't lose yourself, you become something else. Something dangerous. Something necessary. I came into this world thinking I understood power, control, justice. I was wrong about all of it. Power isn't control. It's choosing who you protect and what you're willing to sacrifice. Justice isn't the law. It's making sure the people who deserve to fall actually hit the ground. And I'm just getting started. My name is Sophia Chen. And this is only the beginning.